Hi guys, this is Danny Dangoor with TigerChef, and today we're going to be making garlic mashed potatoes. So the one thing that's going to take the longest time is the roasted garlic. So we're going to start off with that first. So I buy whole roasted, the whole clove of garlic, and that's how we're going to roast it. What I'm doing over here is I'm cutting the tips off. Okay? I'm exposing, oops, there we go. I'm exposing all the cloves of garlic. Get rid of this. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some foil, place it in the foil, add a little bit of oil. I want it to absorb as much as possible. Also, this is gonna give you a little bit of garlic oil in the end too. And then I'm just gonna secure it in the middle, off like this, and then twist the top. We want it to be airtight. And that's it. Now we'll take this and put it in an oven, toaster oven, whatever, at 350 degrees for about an hour. And then you're gonna get that nice caramel look of the garlic. Then when it's ready, you can just squeeze it all out into your mashed potatoes. And that's how you do the roasted garlic. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is get our potatoes ready. Now listen, you wanna keep the skin on when you're boiling these, and I'm gonna tell you why. These things will absorb water, and you don't want it to absorb any water. So the skin kind of acts as a protective layer. So right now we're gonna put this in our pot and boil it until it's fork tender. Now, when it's fork tender, it's exactly how it sounds. I'll be able to stick my knife in it. This is the test. You stick your knife in it and you just let the weight of it go inside it. As long as the weight of it goes inside, you know it's fork tender and it's ready to be taken out. Upon there, which we will peel off the skin and then mash the potatoes. So I just took these hot potatoes out of the water, and I already checked them, but I'm just gonna double check them for you. Let's take this guy over here. You see this goes in perfectly smooth. I barely have to put any pressure in there, and it goes in smooth. Now, normally when you bring things out of hot water, you wanna shock them in cold water so it stops the cooking process. But because these are mashed potatoes and we want them to be as mashed as possible, we're gonna let them to continue to cook by just leaving them out at room temperature. Now you might ask, why not leave them in the water longer? So if you see with this guy, it actually started to blister up, and we don't want that because then, remember like I said, it'll absorb water. So this way, you leave it for about 20 minutes, it gets cold enough to handle, still warm, and this will peel right off. I'll just give you a little example right over here. As you can see, the skin is just peeling off nicely, and it'll peel off a lot easier once it cools down. All right, so this is how we're gonna make our caramelized onions. So I'm gonna start off with red onions because I usually like to use these for this kind of dish. And what I got over here, I got a little pot. There's actually quite a bit of oil in there. We want about a 1/4 inch from the bottom of the pan. That's about the amount of oil we want to use. Next, the thickness of these onions. First, let's shave off the ends, get rid of all the trash that we normally get rid of. And we are left with nothing but our onion, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna make these actually a little thick. And that's because once they caramelize, I don't want them to disappear. I want them to have a little bit of body. When they're too thin, sometimes they just, they disappear into like little shreds. But this, I want them to be nice and crunchy also once they get caramelized. This is gonna get nice and hot. We want this to get up to about 300 degrees, and you'll notice it's at 300 now. If you can see, we have a little bit of smoke. It's at its smoke point because we're using vegetable oil, and it starts to smoke at around that degree. So I'm gonna turn this down just a little bit until we finish cutting these, and then I'm gonna toss them all in there, and we're gonna start to saute them. So now we have all our onions cut, and we have this guy at its smoke point. So now I'm just gonna add these onions in. Let me scoot this guy over. Here. Now, a couple things. You can use any type of onions to make your caramelized onions. I choose to use red onions because they have that nice little like shalloty taste to it. They're a little bit more sweet. They have a very distinct flavor. Now, the cooking method that I'm using is called sauteing. Now, sauteing means high heat, fast movement. So I make sure that this is on its highest, and I want to constantly move this. Also, one thing that I'm not doing, I'm not adding salt. What happens when you add salt is it draws out all the water. When it draws out all the water, you're not gonna get that nice little like caramelized like look on it. So when we'll add the salt, I'll add it at the end. So right now, we just wanna caramelize this, move it around until we get that nice golden color. Takes about 5 to 10 minutes, so just be a little patient. All right, so I got that nice caramel flavor and it's been about 12, 15 minutes. Now I'm gonna add in my salt, and it's just a little pinch, just drizzling over. I'm gonna mix it up so we have it nice incorporated. And then, this is exactly how my red caramelized onions are gonna look. Now you can see that they're very mushy, but they still got bite to it. That's because I made them the size that I did. And these guys, man, they are delicious. Now we're gonna pull out our garlic. It's been roasting for about an hour. Oh man, you open up that oven and boom, hits you in the face, like good smelling garlic. Now we're gonna mash our mashed potatoes. What I got over here is Winco's Food Mill. This thing is awesome. If you ever want to mash anything, this thing does it. I use this for also for like tomato sauces. I'll put the tomatoes in and then this thing goes around, and what it does, it mashes it. So now the first thing we're gonna do is take some of these potatoes and actually cut them down just little chunks like this, okay? You can see I've already done that here. We're gonna place it in the food mill. I'm just gonna turn this around. That's all you gotta do, all right? You'll see it'll push the actual potatoes through, and what we have that comes out at the end is this nice little stringy potato stuff. But it's so mashed that it's gonna be able to accept your cream, your butter perfectly, and you'll see all I'm gonna do is push it down with my hand and it just mashes right away. This is gonna create a very, very smooth feel on your tongue. All right, so now that I got all the potatoes mashed, we're gonna add in about a cup of heavy cream. I'm gonna put this in at the beginning before we put it back on the stove because I don't want it to burn the bottom of the pan, so I'll start mixing it in. And then, this is our roasted garlic. Oh, beautiful. I gotta show this to you guys. Yeah, you can get a zoom in on that, Sam? Look at that. That's beautiful, dude. So this was in there for about an hour. I just poured oil on top, cut off the top, poured oil, wrapped it up in foil, and left it for about an hour, 10 minutes, I think was my total cooking time. Look, all you're gonna do is just squeeze this in there and the garlic comes out perfect. And that's how you get that roasted garlic flavor right in there. All right, so now we got it back on and we're gonna put this at a medium flame, about like a 5 out of 10 on your scale of whatever your flames are. Listen, so the garlic, I didn't mash it at all. In mixing this together, it's gonna mash itself. So I'm just gonna move this around, make sure I get the cream all distributed. And we're just gonna, every couple of minutes, just stir this up. Now also, I didn't put any salt in this, so I'm just gonna add just a little bit of salt, and then I'm gonna taste it later on to see if it needs more, and I'll add more as we need. Potatoes are now nice and steaming, just a very little, so I added in the onions. We're gonna put in about 2 tablespoons of butter. All right, we're gonna mix it in. I'm actually gonna save this for later, but if I was gonna serve it right away, I'm just gonna incorporate this in, and as soon as this is all melted, it's good to go. I'm actually gonna serve this tomorrow, so I'm gonna put this in a metal tin. I'm gonna wrap it with plastic wrap and foil, and then tomorrow, when I want, I'm just gonna put it in the oven at 350 for about an hour and a half to warm up, and it'll be good to go.